everybody. My name is Piper. I'm from the programming committee here at OutSouth, and I had the privilege of being able to watch these films and get to put my vote in that they were seen at our film festival. The films that we're going to be talking about are Two Straight Girls at a Queer Fest, and that's a documentary, and the narrative film Walk With Me. The filmmakers that we have today are Isabelle De Rosa. I may have massacred that, and I'm sorry. She's Brooklyn-based writer, director, shooter, and editor who creates dynamic promotional videos for corporations, nonprofits, artists, and entrepreneurs. She has written, directed, and edited a handful of short films, 2 seasons of sketch comedy web series Smile for the Camera, and in early 2020 completed her first feature film, Walk With Me, which is currently showing at OutSouth. Walk With Me has won the Spirit Award and Best Actor at Brooklyn Film Festival 2021 and Best Emerging Director at Manhattan Film Festival 2021. Walk With Me has been nominated for Best English Language Film, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Original Screenplay at this year's Madrid International Film Festival. And I am...
Yeah, somebody walked into our house. Sorry.
So sorry. Someone just walked into our house unannounced. And next we have M. I will not massacre her name. M is an Academy Award nominated producer, director, and screenwriter. Her fiction, documentary, and dance films have traveled the world, received awards, and been shown in commercial theaters and on national television. She's a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences for having produced the short film Marguerite that was nominated for an Oscar in 2019 in the Best Live Action category. And I want to mention that Marguerite had won the Best Women's International Short at this festival in 2018, and I think that makes us an Academy nominating festival. Em, I'm hoping I can call you Em because we're Facebook friends, and you created the doc Two Straight Girls at a Queer Fest, which is currently showing at OutSouth. So I wanted to let Isabelle. Isabelle has brought in her crew as well as Em, and I want to let Isabelle introduce the crew that is here tonight.
Hello, I have with me Devin Duncan, who plays Amber. This is Amanda Walther, who wrote 16 original songs for the film, and they're incredible and beautiful. That's Bridget Barkin, who plays the character of Logan, who's a singer-songwriter in the film and in real life. And Devin Duncan is here somewhere, and she plays Amber. There we go.
Yay! Yay! And Em, if you'll go ahead and introduce your crew.
Oh, sorry. You're like,
it's my diminutive.
You were muted, Em. Can you start over? Sorry.
Yeah, so I'll just say my name once, Marie-Hélène Panisset. And so I'm the director of Two Straight Girls at a Queer Fest, and I have here my co-star, Judith Baribeau, and Charles Papasoff, who's the composer.
Yay! So I've got a lot of questions, and we'll please everybody, if you're watching, send us in some questions. Where do I even start? So one of the questions I have, both of you have, music plays a very integral part in both of these films. Em, I'll ask the question first, since you have your composer there. Why surfer music?
I don't know. Ask him.
Well, there's a beach in the movie.
Works for me.
When they put the first draft together, I looked at it, and I just felt that type of music, Dick Dale, The Ventures, would fit because it's a road movie. It's a story about 2 girls going on a trip, a story of friendship. And I felt it needed something to propulse it, to drive it. And that type of music is not known as film music, but I put together a playlist of tunes from that everybody knows from that era, and I gave it to Marie-Hélène and Tom, who put the film together, and Philippe Rallette, the the editors used my playlist, and Marie-Hélène was very happy with it. So at that point, I went from there and wrote my own surf music. Which is guitar oriented, and it's song oriented, and it seemed to work.
It's also saxophone oriented, which is Charles is like his instrument of. Can you say that predilection?
Yes, I played mainly saxophone.
So, and saxophone has been sort of booted out of films for like quite a period of time, and I thought it sounded great. So we do have there's one place where he reinterprets Chopin, Frédéric Chopin, with the saxophone, and I thought that was unheard of and original. So it brings actually some kind of sexiness to it.
Yeah.
Interesting too. When I looked up your IMDb, I saw the picture with the saxophone too, and I was like, well, of course that's him, because the saxophone in the middle of the film. Isabelle, I wanted to ask how you got Amanda on board for all the music, which is very integral. Bridget is performing the music, but can you talk about that?
Sure. I went to grade school with Amanda's brother. I think someone's mic might be causing. Oh, there we go. Anyways, I've been working with Adrian Walther, who produced the music for Walk With Me, and as I was setting out to write the actual script, I discovered her music through him and loved it, and listened to the Dala soundtrack. It is the music that I heard was Dala, which is Amanda Walther and Sheila Carabine. And I listened to their music, as I wrote the script. So it kind of informed the film. And when I finished the first draft, I was inspired to ask Amanda to see if she would be interested. And Amanda said,
I said yes.
The music is perfect, of course, for the film. So yeah, both the music for both of these films is, I'm a musician, so I loved that part. So Isabelle, can you talk about how did you get Bridget and Devin on board?
Sure, yeah. Devin and I had worked together for a few years on Smile for the Camera. So we had done sketch comedy, and we had known each other in that capacity for 28 episodes of short sketch comedy. She has a musical theater background. She doesn't have a film or on-camera history prior to that, and she was amazing as a sketch comedy actor. I just knew she had acting chops, and I got to know her as a human, and got to see that she had really wonderful instincts and just strong intuition as a person, and a lot of depth. And I just, after the script was written, it felt like a great fit. And Bridget came in. Well, Bridget, I watched. She was the 5th audition reel that I watched, and I just knew, I fell in love with Bridget. I was like, I want to just meet her and see. And so she came in and auditioned and was wonderful. And then she came in and read with Devin a second time, and it was just kismet,
Yeah, there's one scene, not to ruin for anyone who hasn't seen the film yet, not to ruin anything, but the one scene that tears at my heart for both of you, the performance is the scene on the street. I don't know how to not ruin it, but the scene on the street close to the end, not very at the end, I'll just say the breakup. For both of you, I was just wondering, that performance, I can't imagine it was easy to get to that place for either of you, but I mean, it was hard, especially watching Bridget's part, because I think a lot of us have been there. But then Devin's part, you're torn, because then Devin, it's like, oh, that breakup part. I just, that scene, do you mind talking about it?
No, Bridget?
Bridget? Let's say Bridget first.
Okay, me first. Yes, I mean, obviously, I've had some deep heartbreak and have been, and there was a very real connection that I had to being with someone who was just ending a relationship, and hearing all the things that you'd want to hear, but knowing that this person was still not fully over the pain of their past relationship. And so it wasn't difficult to access that experience for myself, even though it was quite some time ago. It was very real for me, although I don't necessarily always want to go there. And Isabelle was like, come on, let's go. And so I was like, all right, fine. I can't fake it. And also it was not difficult because Devin is so raw and open, and she was so, vulnerable with me that I couldn't help but go there with her.
So Devin, you mind talking about that?
Well, I feel similarly to Bridget in terms of her, what she gives as a performer and as an artist and as a human. And we sort of had gotten to a place at that point where we knew each other really well, and we knew the kind of the ins and outs of each other's lives too. So we may not have known exactly what the other person was using, but there was a lot of love. So it was genuine, that part of it, especially during this breakup scene. And yeah, I think, I had my own things going on in my own life that you can always draw from as an actor. But like Bridget said, yeah, you don't always want to go there. I think the first take we did it was like, okay. And Isabelle was like, no, sorry, guys, you need to really go there. And then when we did, I know for me, I would say coming from, and I'm sure Bridget sort of feels this too, but she has more film experience. This is my first film. So I wasn't used to the cut, great, do it again aspect of, because I'm used to theater. So it's like you pour your heart out, and then it's like, okay, let's go to the top, and then makeup comes in and fixes, and you have to like take a breath and like go back to not being in that place and go there. So it was really exhausting. I mean, like when I was done that night, I went home and just like fell asleep. I think I slept for like 12 hours. I was just so tired. But it was really memorable experience. And Isabelle is she's just such a nurturing presence. So there was nothing manipulative. It was like, take your time, and also I'm going to help guide you there no matter what. So it was really, she's wonderful.
And speaking of that, so and Isabelle, you drew out some great emotions. I don't know how you did it, but there was some great scenes there, and you could definitely feel them. So M, yours is a doc. There's definitely some drama. Jay, I still wonder how you got convinced to do this. I know we see it on camera, but do you have any regrets?
That's the question for me, is that it? I don't have any regrets. I mean, we had fun. Should we set the record straight once and for all? It's not a documentary.
Well, it is, but it's not. We still don't agree on this.
It's a mockumentary.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So I mean, Marie has always dragged me into
Her project.
Crazy project.
Whether it be fighting in green jello or, shooting a movie,
In a
pulling a pop tent en route for North Carolina. I mean, I said yes because I love her. She's my friend. We've been friends for a long time. And it was an adventure that I felt like I wanted to go on. So I said yes did I hesitate? Not that much. Well, I mean, there's that scene in the film in which I hesitate. I don't think in real life I hesitated that much.
I think you were quite a trooper. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It was a crazy venture. Absolutely. And I remember actually, because it's in the film, but it's a documentary, but it's scripted too. So maybe it's more real for me. And Judith was more of she was the obstacle to the story, so that there was actually drama going on. but I remember I was in the sitting room of my psychoanalyst, and I had the idea, and I just texted her the pitch. And I said, "Are you in?" And then she said, "Yeah, sure." And she had no idea what it was going to be. And I had no idea what it was going to be. I just had this title, and I needed to shoot a film. And then the emails from Jim Carl, who came in, and they were like really graphic. They had like this graphic quality to them, and it just sparked my imagination. And it just, everything, like all of my life experiences came together. And in that moment where I had the idea for the title, and then we just drove to the festival, and we didn't know when we would arrive there what was going to go on, what would go on.
If we would arrive there.
Yeah, if we would arrive. And then it was wonderful because we had like this idea in our head of what it was going to be like. And then we arrive, and it's just real people there. And it's really interesting how there was such a big buildup, and then we get there, and we're all the same, in a way, with our different life experiences. And I thought like that's the greatest lesson to this film, actually.
Well, and that's an interesting point, Isabelle. You said your intent was not to make a queer film. That wasn't what you set out to do. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's like layers to that, I guess. In a way, my goal has always been to make film, and I've been working towards that. But I also took time off to raise my kids and all these things, and so I've always considered myself a serious filmmaker. So I was just like, I'm making a film first, and then whatever story comes, and this happened to be the story. But also, it's just a love is love story. That's really how it reads to me, Love is love. It's just a love story.
And so it's kind of interesting how these two films have some interesting ties between them. To me, it's like, your kids are always there in the background, in the back of the viewer's mind. And I know there was some moments in the film, I don't know how much is mockumentary, of that. And I know when you were here, I believe you did say something about that you were missing your kids, but there was, so that mother thing is a theme with both of these films. I'm curious, have your kids watched this?
They have, actually, and they're really intrigued by it. And that's the documentary part, really, is that I wasn't directing them. I was just trying to grab the moments that where magic happens. I think motherhood, it's not always what it's all cracked up to be. And to me, this trip was the first time that I was actually away from them. And kids are great, but they're also a lot of work. And the film tackles on that subject, the fact that it's hard work, and being away from them, it's at some point it's it feels good, and when you get back to them, it feels good too.
Nice. I had a question for Isabelle also that made me think, you had said that a lot of that behind the camera, can you talk about your crew a little bit behind the camera?
Sure. Yeah, it was a mostly female crew. I mean, we had on average a 9-person crew, so we were a teeny tiny crew with a teeny tiny micro budget. But it was mostly women. Our producer Panita is a woman, and a lot of our crew, a lot of like our AC and just most of the people there on set were female, and that was just really lovely. It was beautiful. And then of course Amanda, who's not crew but music, and they're just it was a very female driven project, like from all ends.
For Bridget, was that I've been on a lot of sets, and it's very rare to have more than like a PA or maybe a producer who is female. Like most of the crew is male. Do you think it how was that experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that most of the film sets and TV show sets I've been on are majority white men. That is very true. And so also international, we had like, folks from Brazil on our set. It was very multicultural as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's always better with more women around. It's just the truth, it's like we all our cycles start to sync up. No, I'm kidding. That's just like, that's like the cliche, right? Oh, we're all on the same page. But she's having a funny reaction to that. I'm from New York. I can't help it. Yeah, so no, we just, it's warm. There's just a lot of vulnerability and intimacy, and men are wonderful too. Everybody, all genders, but women are nurturing. It's just what we do.
And so, Devin, was the experience of doing a feature, how was that for you? You're saying this was your first. Did it meet all your expectations?
Yeah, I think I got pretty spoiled, actually. I have a feeling that should there be another feature in my future, it will be, it's not gonna be what this was. And I know that. I happen to have an incredible relationship with Isabelle outside of this. We're good friends as well. And it was a lot of people's first feature. Like, it was our producer's first feature. It was a lot of people's first. And so there was this energy there was just this like hunger and this buzz and this gratitude that was just sort of permeating. And it felt like everyone was there to lift each other up and support each other and see each other shine. And so it was kind of a dream come true. And we shot it over the course of a year and kept coming back together to work each season. And so we just really got close. And I know that's unusual. And, I feel like people throughout the experience would be like, this isn't normal, just so you know, like, this isn't normally how it goes. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm prepared for it being different moving forward. But yeah, it was very special.
That's really good to hear, that it was a really overall good experience, especially since it was a mostly female crew. Of course, you want to hear that. But so we have a question from Grumpy Old Gen Xer. How much footage was eventually shot for Two Straight Girls during the road trip, and how much went unused?
Interesting question. There was actually not that much footage, maybe like 12 or 13 hours. So we basically, even though it was improvised, we sort of knew where we were going. Some conversations lasted for an hour and were cut down to 3 or 4 minutes. But yeah, it was, shot chronologically, and the story evolves chronologically. And yeah, so
Did we do takes? I can't remember.
Yeah, maybe like 1 or 2 sometimes, like in the beginning, especially because we weren't sort of like, I'm no actress. So, and we sort of to find the right tone of the story. But then as we were going along, I mean, we sort of had an outline of what we would do, but then shit would happen and we would get stuck in mud and have to back up the stupid trailer. And I was like, should it take out the camera? And so we would just go along with that. And what's interesting is that the material actually sat in a drawer for 5 years, and it's only with the pandemic that we pulled it out. And I always knew that there was a film there, but somehow I didn't have the courage or the this distance. The time too, the time, and the right composer to decide to do it. And it's really during the pandemic that we decided to dive into. And Tom, the editor who couldn't be there, really did a wonderful job. I think the idea was for me to cut it first, but then I think it was important, since we shot it ourselves, we acted in it. It was good to have like that distance. Actually, our whole shooting crew was female because it was Judith and I filming each other.
And I was getting to that.
But then we had this all male post-production crew. So that was interesting. I don't know what it brought, but it brought a different perspective, I think.
I have to ask, I am amazed at the sound. Like the sound in the Jeep, especially when you had the top down. Like, did you guys have to do post on that? Because it's amazingly clean.
We had these
a little bit.
We had these lavalier mics that I didn't know how to use, but I guess they were good quality because we would just put them on and stick them with a Band-Aid. But then we had a good guy doing the sound, and we did a bit of post, but the post that we did was actually when there was real music. Well, not that your music is not real, but there was like music on the radio and it would talk over, and then we couldn't use that music obviously because it was ZZ Top. And so we had Judith singing ZZ Top, and then we had to use that take because it was amazing. So Charles actually wrote a new song and that was the same beat, and we made Jay sing over it words that would match the ZZ Top song, which was
it worked wonderfully.
Yeah. So, but that's basically I'm glad you think the sound is good because it was, I didn't put in a bit of money to make sure that it was audible. So I'm really happy that, great. Thank you.
That's genius.
Monique said that's genius.
It's like bad lip dub. I love that.
So Isabelle, was there anything that ended up on the floor of the editing, or was the whole story, you got everything in, or did you end up cutting some stuff out? I'm just curious.
I think we cut like 5 scenes, more or less, like full scenes. That I think as a first-time filmmaker in the writing, there was some repetitive stuff. So in watching the film on the first few edits, it was like, okay. Like we needed to trim it down, and because of the length also. But so there was some cutting that was kind of hard to do, but then, when you're making the film stronger and you're making it better, it just becomes the obvious choice, and it's fine. So, yeah.
Now I'm super curious of what those 5 scenes would have been. So, Amanda, none of the songs got left out, right?
No, actually. In fact, I think we added one at the end. After there was an edit change, Isabelle came back to me and said, we might need something for this, transition. And so one more song got added to the list.
Have you done a movie before with your music?
Never.
No.
It was my first.
So there was there's a lot of firsts for this film then.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing because you did a great job, Isabelle. It is. Before I had seen it, one of the folks on the committee asked me if I'd seen it yet. And I said, no, I'm going to watch it tomorrow night. And she was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. So I wanted to share that with you. She also loves New York. So the background didn't hurt. But so what was that like going around New York and filming?
Well, most of the film was shot right in my neighborhood. Amber's apartment was actually my apartment. I lived like in kind of a loft. So we built set walls that lived in my home for a whole year, and to make it a smaller apartment, and in the hallway, and to make it
for a year.
Yeah,
you lived like that for a year.
Yeah, it was fun. The whole thing. It was so exciting to be making my first feature, but also then with all these incredible people. It was such an incredible experience that had so many layers to it. The depth of the connection with everybody was so beautiful. And then making it was like, oh, we've got something here. And it was so exciting to collaborate with these incredible talents. And like I mentioned, we were working on a micro budget. So everybody pretty much donated their time for a stipend and worked really hard and wore multiple hats. And, like our producer often made breakfast in the morning like scrambled eggs and, and made breakfast. And we were all just putting 110% in and all our hearts in. And it was just really wonderful. But to your question, we shot in the neighborhood and I live kind of under like where airplanes pass over. Not that I'm that close to an airport, but we just happen to be under, the flight path. So that was hard because there was a lot of stop and start on our exteriors. And then most of our locations were also just favors, like stores, restaurants, bars down the avenue that I would walk in and say, hey, I'm doing this thing. And then they'd say, yeah, come in for free. But we'd have 5 hours to set up lights, block, shoot, break it down, get out the door. So ultimately we would have very, very little time to actually film. So everything that was shot in places that was not my home was like, the time was just, there was a time pressure that was really extraordinary, I think, but we all rallied and just like got right, like we squeezed everything out of it. So, yeah.
Wow. So you guys sound like you had a great experience, and that's usually, I know after a feature, everybody is exhausted and they get a little depressed because now it's like you're run. I mean, Devin, did you miss everybody after the last scene was shot?
I miss everybody still. I think I missed everybody like after our first breakfast. I mean, I wanted to be there at all times. And yeah, there was a real somber, beautiful, moment at the end when we all were shooting the last scenes. And yeah, it was very bittersweet, and it had been such an amazing journey. I also wanted to mention about shooting in New York, I always think about our guerrilla style shooting on like the subway. I mean, all those shots were stolen. The stuff in Toronto, in the cab, it was like, Devin, just hail a cab. And I was like, okay. And then she's in the back seat, on the airplane, it's all stolen. It was just like, it was so fun to shoot that way. And then to have it turn out and look like so beautiful. It's very impressive.
When I went back and I watched a few of the scenes, it was interesting because I started watching it from a different perspective, because now I'm like, okay, I can go outside of the story and now look at the technical part. And I was surprised at how smooth. I was like, wow, did they film this at like 1 o'clock in the morning or something when it was a little quieter and easier to handle? I was curious about that.
One of the really special, when we did the scene where Logan sees her mom on the subway platform, Devin noticed that on this one particular train at this one station, there's a beeping sound right before the train enters. So we were able to time out action to the train, literally timing out every time. And somehow the writing of it timed out perfectly, the pacing of the scene time. So we would run the scene at the beep and it would time out exactly as it needed to be. It was just like magical and challenging, I'm sure, for Bridget, but it was really magical.
Do you want to say anything to that, Bridget?
It wasn't challenging. It was great. It was all perfect.
And I know I read a little bit about you, Bridget. I know that you've been performing since you were born, is what it said.
Oh yeah, that's what it says, right?
Yeah. So I found that was interesting, because I was like, well, she's a singer-songwriter, just happens to be an actress. And then,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's all. So go ahead. I was just curious.
Yeah. I grew up, it's true. My first job was posing as baby Jesus. I was on a decorative wall plate.
As you do.
And see, Jesus was a woman. And then my mom took a break from taking me to auditions as a baby, and so when I was around 2, I was approached like in the playground, because I grew up in New York City, and I had a manager, and I started working really young, and I was on Sesame Street, and I did a bunch of print and commercials and stuff. So acting was like from the moment that I began, I've been on a set. So and music was always there because my father is a songwriter, and I grew up in the household just with music all the time. And so singing and writing songs is kind of, you know, equal to my love of acting and theater and film.
Amanda, I was curious about that. Have you had other artists cover your songs like that?
Not like this. I have had other artists cover some of my work with Della, but this was so incredible because I was writing these songs for a character that Isabelle had kind of given me as much backstory as she could about. I was writing from a different voice other than my own, which I had never done before, and I had an aesthetic. I had a sound in my head that didn't exist yet, a voice that I was really hoping Logan had. And then I heard Bridget sing, and I saw a bit of her audition, and my mind was blown. I'm like, this is Logan. What? How did you find Logan? Her voice is just unbelievable.
You have an amazing voice, Bridget. I mean, I know you've heard that, but also the performance, it really, you forget that it's not that you didn't write it. I mean, you sing it as if you wrote it. And that, I just think that's very, I give you lots of credit to both of you. Well, because Amanda wrote it for the character. That makes sense.
I mean, the songs are so beautiful. I had so much fun learning them. And to me, learning the songs helped me learn the character. Like that's like the rhythm of the music is kind of the way she talks too.
See, the rhythm of the music. See the surfer going to the saxophone. I mean, it was interesting. It really is like all of a sudden I kind of watching the film. I'm like, okay, we went from surfer music, not what I was expecting, and then I realized at the very end, I'm like, oh, it turned into saxophone at some point, which totally fit for me. So I commend you on that, composing it that way. So Em, you didn't like go right here, saxophone needs to come in.
I gotta see this movie.
Same.
I know.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to watch yours. Absolutely. Yeah.
What I was expecting, Em, but it was not. I don't know what I was expecting, but watching it, so this is going to sound narcissistic, but you never get to. I was thinking after I watched it, and it kept going through my head, and I was like, you never get to know what a person has totally experienced before you meet them. So from a very narcissistic, it was interesting meeting you guys and then watching the film, seeing everything that happened before you showed up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was telling Monique when I watched it,
It's
I was
like time travel.
It's like time travel. It was, hello, sci-fi. It was interesting to me because I was like, oh, now a lot of things make sense. Though some of it I was wondering if it was written in the documentary and not necessarily, more mockumentary. Monique was like, how much do you think that was real?
Well, do you have questions for us?
Is there a question there? No, that's why I said it's really narcissistic. But Jay, I know you have done a feature since, because you talk about it at the end of the film. Can you talk about that? Because I looked for it really quickly.
The feature?
Yeah.
Yeah, I co-wrote a feature that we shot it came out actually just before our confinement started here. It came out on March 13th of last year, so we had 2 days in the theater. But yeah, it's a feature I co-wrote that I was actually already working on, I think, when we shot Two Straight Girls. Yeah, we'd been working on it for a while. It's called Our Own. It's gonna come out in the US, I think. I'm not sure exactly what the details are, but yeah, it's you guys are gonna be able to see it, I think.
And she co-stars in it too.
Yeah, that too.
Which is important because of the film. Because of the
discussion in the documentary. That's important. that made me think of something. Who was it that made breakfast on Walk With Me? It was a producer. So see, it was only fair that you guys made breakfast for each other.
Did we even have breakfast? Like, I don't remember eating on it. We didn't have time.
I remember having tea, but
yeah, we ate at a couple of McDonald's, and we had
McDonald's. That's what it was.
But we had that brunch at the festival, the luncheon. Actually,
yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, then that's in the film.
Yeah, the eggs in the morning, and it wasn't like food wasn't really part of the story. It was really more about our career paths and what our ambitions and getting the pop tent to rise and getting on to the destination and really debunking quite a few taboos, you know.
I mean, it's a very revealing film, I think, and you know that's very brave. It sat for 5 years, you said, and then you decide. I mean, you had the title because you had the bumper sticker, so you had to already have the title.
Yeah.
Did you wrestle with yourself that you were going to complete it, even when you started working on it?
Well, you see, I had to make a film because so the storyline is that this is real. As a producer in Quebec, we get government funding. And there was this new rule that if we hadn't shot a film in 5 years, we would lose a status as a producer. So I wouldn't be able to apply for funding anymore. So there was this urgency because I had kids and then I was sick for a while. And then so it had been 5 years. So clock was ticking to make a new film. And then everything came together. It's really strange how creation works because there was this urgency and then there was the invitation to the festival and it all came together with the title. The title was really the first thing was the title. And then it was all through the trip. One of the question is, can we use the word queer since we're straight? And it's interesting because when you think 6 years later, there's all this questioning about what words we should be using or not using. And then we did when we arrived at the festival, one of the questions that we asked you, Monique and Piper, is it okay to say that this is a queer fest? Because back then the festival was called North Carolina Gay and Lesbian Film Festival. And you sort of like everybody, when we say the title, everybody starts laughing. And you said, yeah, it's okay. And now the festival is called OutSouth Queer Fest. So it's interesting how perceptions evolve. And, you know, as a filmmaker, I don't think that my goal is to give answers. It's more to raise questions and see how people feel about it.
It's all about that. She's like got the finger snapping over here. Well, I know we're running out of time here, so I'm going to quickly, Amanda, what is your next project?
I've got something on the go right now, but in my music world, the next project is a jazz project called Dizzy and Faye, and we're releasing a whole bunch of stuff this fall. So, but I'm doing everything.
And Bridget? What you got going on next?
Well, I just released a song and a video that I directed, and I'll be releasing more music throughout the year and hopefully working on some new films.
Yay! Devin, what do you got going on?
I've been doing a lot of writing. What's another thing that I like to do? I help other people develop scripts. And so I've got a couple things going on there. And I have a blog that I've started on Patreon. Devin Duncannon is, I think, all you would search for on that. But that's keeping me busy. And my boyfriend converted a van into a little home. So we've been traveling and I've been blogging and taking a little breather from this stuff.
So it's on travel? It's on traveling or
micro living?
Well,
just
the blog is
living?
Well, the blog is not exclusively about that. It's about, I left New York City and came upstate during the pandemic, and I'm sort of reassessing my ego in this business and all sorts of things like that. So it's about me.
Okay.
It's just about my life, and that's one aspect of it, is that I'm traveling with my boyfriend in a van. So
In a van, as you do. All right, Judith. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, she's got you muted. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry, Judith.
I identified really strongly to Devin's saying that she reassessed her ego during the pandemic. I did that too. Aside from that, I'm writing a feature on my own this time, and I'm going to shoot soon probably a short that I wrote also, and I'm going to star in. So that's what's on the burners right now.
Is there any Jello involved?
Nope, that was a once in a lifetime thing.
Maybe a green screen.
That could be, yes.
Charles, what you got going on next?
A few projects, but one that's close to my heart is I've put the Shakespeare sonnets to music, and we've shot a short film with Marie-Hélène where we play them live with a band, and hopefully we'll be touring with that if the pandemic permits, because the touring has slowed down quite dramatically since a year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Beautiful music. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Em, what's up with you?
Well, I hope to be making a film with more than $40 as a budget for shooting, which was the budget for Two Straight Girls. So yeah, I'm writing
$20 in quarters.
Oh, that too. So it's actually $60 that we spent. No, but actually, it's funny because I'm writing this script, and I hope to be getting money to produce it properly. But I'm probably going to end up shooting it on my own. I'm like quite stubborn like that, and it's about two women stuck in an elevator. So I could do that anywhere. So.
I see a theme here.
And then the elevator.
Yeah. It's actually I can just give you the pitch. It's a comedy. It's about a woman who does cosmetic surgery, and she gets stuck in an elevator with a woman who wears a full face veil, the niqab. And so they come from two very different worlds, and they're stuck together, and they need to learn to talk to each other. So that's the story. Yeah.
And Isabelle, what's your next project, and how can everybody support you?
Well, I'm on my 11th draft of a new screenplay, and I'm really excited about it. I'm struggling with it a little bit. The stakes are higher for me because it's an even more personal story in a way. But I'm very excited about this. So I'm just working on that and working and living life,
And how can we be on the lookout, or is there anything folks can do to support you?
Well, if there's anyone that wants to finance an independent film, that would be the way to go. Yeah. But I guess just following the Walk With Me social media. I don't really have any public social media myself. So, yeah.
Well, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I want to thank you for submitting your film, making your films, submitting your films. Really, really enjoyed both films a lot. And hopefully everybody will, if they didn't know about them, they now know about them and they'll watch. Thank you all for participating at OutSouth this year. We really appreciate it. I know it's weird with COVID, so, but thank you very much.
All right, we're going to go backstage now. I'm going to go, oops. You want to close it out, Piper?
Yep. So thanks everybody for viewing. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope, if you found something interesting, I really hope that you will watch these films. Please support the filmmakers in any way you can. And thanks and good night.